What if the thing you've been doing to stop nighttime urination is actually making your bladder more irritated? And what if avoiding water in the evening completely, something millions of adults over 60 have started doing, may quietly be creating dehydration, bladder irritation, thicker urine, and even more urgency during the night? I know that sounds backwards, because for years people have been told the exact same advice: stop drinking water after dinner. But after more than 2 decades treating bladder dysfunction, nocturia, urinary urgency, and age-related bladder changes, I can tell you something most people never hear. For many adults, the issue isn't simply too much water. Sometimes it's how aggressively they restrict it. I'm Dr. Scott Liven, and over the last 24 years, I've worked with thousands of patients who became so afraid of waking up at night that they unintentionally pushed their bodies into the opposite extreme. And the result? Dry mouth, bladder irritation, concentrated urine, muscle cramps, fatigue, poor sleep, and in some cases, even more nighttime urgency than before. Now, in my last video, we discussed the hydration timing mistakes that can overload the bladder overnight. But today, I want to show you the other side of this conversation, because balance matters, and the body rarely responds well to extremes. A major review published by the International Continence Society in 2021 found that excessive evening fluid restriction in older adults was frequently associated with increased bladder sensitivity, dehydration symptoms, and poor sleep quality despite reduced fluid intake. That surprises people. Most assume less water automatically equals fewer bathroom trips, but the bladder is far more complicated than that. Before we go further, I want to ask you something. Have you ever stopped drinking water early in the evening and still found yourself waking up at night anyway? Tell me in the comments. And if you're over 60, include your age too, because what you're experiencing may be much more common than you think. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 3 biggest mistakes people make when trying to fix nighttime urination by cutting water too aggressively. And by the time we reach number 1, you'll understand why many healthy bladders actually function better with strategic hydration rather than fear-driven restriction. And trust me, number 1 changes how most people think about bladder health completely. Let's begin with number 3. And this one shocks almost every patient I explain it to. Your bladder does not like highly concentrated urine. Most people imagine urine as simple waste liquid, but chemically it matters enormously how concentrated that liquid becomes. When people drastically reduce evening hydration, especially after dinner, their urine becomes darker, more acidic, and more chemically irritating to the lining of the bladder itself. And that irritation can trigger urgency signals even when the bladder is not truly full. In other words, you may feel like you need to urinate not because there is too much urine, but because the bladder lining is irritated by overly concentrated urine. A 2020 study published in Urology and Urodynamics found that concentrated urine increased urgency sensations and nighttime bladder discomfort significantly in adults over 65. I often explain it this way to patients. Imagine pouring strong lemon juice onto sensitive skin. The issue isn't necessarily the amount, it's the concentration. The bladder works similarly. One of my patients, Linda, age 72, had stopped drinking water completely after 6 p.m. because she was terrified of waking up at night. But she still woke up constantly with burning urgency and bladder pressure. When we evaluated her hydration, her urine concentration was extremely high. We added a small glass of water in the evening, nothing excessive, and within weeks, her nighttime discomfort improved dramatically. That's because hydration isn't the enemy. Poor hydration balance is. Now, age matters here too. As adults get older, the bladder lining becomes more sensitive and the body's thirst signals become less reliable. Research from UCLA's Department of Geriatric Medicine showed that older adults frequently underestimate dehydration because the sensation of thirst weakens with age. So by the time many seniors feel thirsty, they're already partially dehydrated. Here's what I recommend instead. Don't flood your body before bed, but don't completely shut water off out of fear either. If your mouth feels dry in the evening, take small, controlled sips. Keep your urine pale yellow, not dark amber. Your bladder usually responds far better to moderation than extremes. Now, this connects directly to number 2, because the next mistake isn't about water quantity at all. It's about what dehydration silently does to the rest of your body while you sleep, and most people never connect the two. Number 2. Poor evening hydration can quietly worsen muscle tension, circulation, and sleep quality itself. This is where things become fascinating. Many adults assume waking up at night is always caused by the bladder. But in reality, poor sleep itself often increases nighttime awakenings first, and then people decide to use the bathroom simply because they're already awake. That distinction matters enormously. A 2019 sleep medicine study from Johns Hopkins found that fragmented sleep patterns were one of the strongest predictors of perceived nocturia in older adults, not bladder disease. Sleep fragmentation and dehydration contributes directly to that fragmentation. When the body becomes mildly dehydrated overnight, stress hormones can rise, heart rate may increase slightly, muscles tighten, dry mouth develops, leg cramps become more common, and the brain shifts into lighter sleep stages. The result? You wake up more easily. And once awake, many people assume the bladder caused the awakening, even when it did not. I saw this happen with a patient named Harold, age 69. He insisted his bladder was waking him every night at 2 a.m. But after reviewing his sleep habits, we discovered he had severe dry mouth, evening dehydration, and poor sleep quality. He was waking first, then deciding to urinate because he was already conscious. Once we improved hydration balance earlier in the evening and stabilized his sleep routine, his nighttime awakenings dropped dramatically. This is why I tell patients, the bladder is often blamed for problems the nervous system actually started, and after 60, the body becomes far less forgiving of dehydration-related stress. That brings us to number 1, and in my opinion, this is the most misunderstood concept in bladder health today. Because for many adults, excessive fear of nighttime urination creates more damage than the urination itself. Here's what happens psychologically. People begin monitoring every sensation. Every urge becomes threatening. Every bathroom trip becomes evidence that something is wrong, and over time, the brain becomes hyper-focused on bladder signals. This is called bladder hypersensitivity. The nervous system essentially learns to overreact. A major 2022 review from the European Association of Urology discussed how anxiety surrounding nocturia can significantly amplify urinary urgency perception, particularly in older adults. The bladder becomes part physical, part neurological conditioning. I've had patients become terrified of drinking even moderate amounts of water because they were so desperate to avoid waking up once at night. But waking once occasionally after 60 is often completely normal physiology, not disease, not failure, not emergency. The real goal is not perfection. It's healthy balance. I remember a patient named Dorothy, age 74, who became obsessed with avoiding nighttime urination completely. She restricted fluids aggressively, stopped socializing in the evenings, avoided travel, constantly worried about bathroom access. And ironically, her symptoms worsened because anxiety itself was amplifying her bladder sensitivity. When we shifted the focus away from fear and toward healthy routines, her sleep improved more than it had in years. And this is the part I really want you to hear. Your body is not broken because it changes with age. Bladders age, sleep changes, hormones change, circulation changes. That is biology. The goal is not to panic over every nighttime bathroom trip. The goal is understanding your body well enough to support it intelligently. So let's bring this together. Number 3. Avoid extreme evening dehydration because overly concentrated urine can irritate the bladder itself. Number 2. Remember that dehydration can worsen sleep quality, muscle tension, and nighttime awakenings that people mistakenly blame entirely on the bladder. And number 1. Don't let fear train your nervous system into constant bladder anxiety. Healthy aging is about balance, not obsession. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever tried cutting water too aggressively at night? And did it actually help or make things worse? Tell me below. I read every comment, and if this video helped calm some of the fear surrounding nighttime urination, press the like button and share it with someone who constantly worries about their bladder. Subscribe so you don't miss future conversations about bladder health, aging, sleep, and the science your body wishes more people understood. Your body is not betraying you. Sometimes it simply needs balance instead of panic. And now, you finally understand the difference.